The spoon paused above the breakfast bowl. For 3 seconds, you calculate whether one more scoop will ruin the morning. Then you put the spoon down, not because you are satisfied, but because breakfast has become a test you are afraid to fail. That hesitation is the hidden loss. The first meal of the day no longer prepares you for life. It delays life while you negotiate with every item on the tray. 5 ordinary decisions can create that confusion even when none looks reckless by itself. The mechanism becomes visible only when the complete breakfast is examined as one event. I'm Robert, 83. I still fill the bird feeder, shave without rushing, and carry my breakfast tray. Breakfast did not make me independent. A morning routine should support the life ahead, not turn its first hour into an argument with food. The failed attempt is replacing one package, then another, while never examining why the whole breakfast produces the same uncertainty. Each new label feels like a fresh start. The next reading turns it into another suspect. Picture the coat waiting beside the door. You plan to leave early, but you are still at the table rearranging the tray and wondering whether a smaller breakfast is automatically safer. After an overnight fast, the body is already managing stored fuel. When breakfast arrives, carbohydrate is digested into glucose, insulin helps direct that fuel, and the response unfolds over time. The complete meal matters more than the reputation of any single package. Think of the tray as a band. One instrument may sound harmless alone. Together, the arrangement changes. Food is not music, and a single result cannot assign blame. The comparison simply explains why changing one package may leave the morning sounding the same. I'm not about to hand you 5 forbidden foods. I'm going to separate 5 design errors, show why each can matter, and explain where the evidence stops. Until they are separated, the tray keeps its secret, and breakfast keeps taking the blame as if it were one single thing. Salad on the plate, pills on the counter, and the meter is still higher than you expected. If that feels familiar, even after cutting sugar and following your doctor's plan, pay attention. It does not mean you failed. Blood sugar is not a single switch controlled by one food. It is a 24-hour system shaped by your meals, movement, sleep, stress, medication, and the way your body responds to insulin. When that system remains under pressure, the effects can appear far beyond the meter in your energy, your eyes, your kidneys, and your nerves. Stay with me, because one overlooked piece is about to make the rest of this video click. And if you want to see how daily blood sugar support can fit alongside healthy habits and your doctor's plan, I placed a free presentation in the description below. The 5 mistakes are drinking part of the meal, choosing refined, low-fiber grains, stacking several carbohydrate sources, leaving out balancing fiber or protein, and skipping breakfast only to overload the next meal. Mistake 1 is drinking part of the meal without counting it as part of breakfast. Sweetened coffee, sweet tea, flavored milk, smoothies, and juice can deliver carbohydrate beside the food on the plate. Liquid does not mean metabolically invisible. Sugar-sweetened beverages are strongly discouraged in current diabetes nutrition guidance. 100% juice is not identical to soda, and a recent small crossover trial in well-controlled type 2 diabetes did not find a significant acute glucose difference between equal sugar orange juice, whole orange pieces, and a sweetened control drink when all were served with a high carbohydrate breakfast. That is a useful limit. Do not turn whole fruit is generally preferred into a claim that every glass of juice produces a larger spike in every person. The practical point is simpler. Count the drink as part of the complete meal. Whole fruit generally offers intact structure and fiber. Juice is easier to consume quickly and in a larger amount. Your monitoring plan can show whether a specific drink fits. Smoothies deserve the same honest accounting. Blending fruit does not make it forbidden, but a large cup can contain several portions, plus sweetened yogurt, juice, or syrup. The name smoothie does not tell you its carbohydrate content, and drinking it beside breakfast makes it an addition rather than a replacement. The tray returns. The glass was not decoration. It was one of the instruments. Mistake 2 is choosing a refined, low-fiber grain because the front of the box sounds healthy. Words such as multigrain, honey, natural, and made with whole grain do not reveal the full ingredient list or fiber content. Refined grains are broken down more extensively during processing, while whole, intact grains preserve more structure. Clinical guidance encourages minimizing refined grains and added sugars, while emphasizing higher fiber carbohydrate sources. A small breakfast experiment used a crossover design in 19 participants with type 2 diabetes, whose average age was about 66. The higher soluble fiber conditions produced a lower post-meal glucose response than the lower fiber condition. That finding does not make any cereal medicinal. Fiber amount, portion, processing, and the rest of the meal still matter. Read the ingredient list, total carbohydrate, added sugar, and fiber per serving, and compare the serving with what actually enters your bowl. Instant oatmeal illustrates the problem. Plain oats and a packet containing sweetener and dried flavor pieces can share the same grain name while delivering different meals. Granola can be nutrient-dense and still be easy to pour in a portion much larger than the label describes. The mistake is trusting the category instead of inspecting the product and amount. Mistake 3 is stacking several reasonable carbohydrate sources in one sitting. This is the breakfast arithmetic problem. Oats plus banana plus toast plus milk plus juice can look like 5 healthy decisions. The bloodstream receives the combined carbohydrate load. Among dietary factors, carbohydrate generally has the largest immediate effect on glucose after eating, so guidance recommends individualized assessment. There is no universal number that fits every older adult, and severe restriction can threaten nutrition, weight, and strength. So do not declare the banana or oats guilty. Lay out the complete tray. Ask which items serve the same carbohydrate role and whether all are needed in that amount at the same meal. Sometimes the easiest correction is subtraction without deprivation. Keep the food you enjoy most and move another carbohydrate source to a later meal. Another person may reduce the bowl and keep the fruit. There is no universal geometry. The goal is to stop 5 separate choices from becoming one invisible total. The third mistake changes how you see the first 2. The problem was never only the glass or the box. It was the sum. Mistake 4 is building breakfast around carbohydrate while leaving little fiber or an appropriate protein source. Protein and fiber have different functions. Fiber can slow digestion and supports bowel and cardiovascular health. Protein supports tissue maintenance and can improve satiety. Neither one erases carbohydrate, and there is no ideal macronutrient ratio for everyone with diabetes. A breakfast might pair an individualized portion of a higher fiber carbohydrate with eggs, plain yogurt, cottage cheese, beans, tofu, nuts, or another suitable protein source. The right choice depends on preferences, allergies, chewing ability, kidney function, heart failure instructions, and the meal plan created with your clinician or dietitian. Do not add a giant protein shake to an already crowded tray and call the problem solved. Some shakes carry added carbohydrate, and people with kidney disease may need individualized protein advice. Balance is a design decision, not another product. Older adults also need enough nourishment to preserve muscle and recover from illness. A breakfast that produces a smaller glucose rise by being nearly empty may create a different problem: weakness, unintended weight loss, or hunger that drives later eating. Glucose management and adequate nutrition have to occupy the same plate. The fifth mistake can hide in an empty place setting. Mistake 5 is skipping breakfast without considering what happens at the next meal or how medication is timed. 22 participants with type 2 diabetes completed 2 test days in a randomized crossover experiment. On the day breakfast was omitted, glucose responses after lunch and dinner were higher, alongside altered insulin and incretin responses. The study was small, short, and used specific meals. It does not prove everyone must eat breakfast or that every time-restricted plan is harmful. Some people are not hungry early. Some follow a clinician-supervised eating window. Others take medications that make skipping or delaying food unsafe. The mistake is not an empty plate by itself. It is skipping by improvisation, then arriving at lunch ravenous, eating far more than planned, or disconnecting food from medicine that was prescribed around meals. If mornings are difficult because of nausea, dental problems, depression, swallowing trouble, or low appetite, tell the care team. The answer may require a smaller meal, different texture, medication review, or another schedule. Calling it intermittent fasting should not hide a symptom that deserves attention. Now assemble the corrective stack. First, photograph or write down the entire breakfast for several ordinary days, including beverages, condiments, and actual portions. Do not improve it for the notebook. You need the real arrangement. Place everything in one frame before eating. That simple photograph catches the second slice, the refill, and the drink that memory often edits out. It also gives a dietitian something concrete to review. Second, simplify one layer at a time. Choose a beverage that fits. Replace a refined item with a higher fiber option when appropriate. Reduce unnecessary carbohydrate stacking. Include a suitable source of fiber and protein. If breakfast is being skipped, decide with your care team whether that timing fits your medication and metabolic goals. Third, compare patterns safely. Use glucose checks or CGM according to your prescribed plan, not every few minutes out of fear. Keep breakfast reasonably consistent long enough to learn something. Sleep, illness, stress, and medication changes can distort a single morning. Write the question before collecting data. Are you comparing 2 cereals, a drink change, or a smaller stack? Change one major variable at a time when it is safe. Otherwise, even a better number cannot tell you which adjustment mattered. I know the objection. Robert, are you telling me breakfast has to be eggs and vegetables forever? No. I am telling you that breakfast needs a job description. It must provide enough nourishment, fit your culture and appetite, coordinate with treatment, and create a response your care team considers safe. Many different meals can do that. If insulin, a sulfonylurea, or another treatment creates hypoglycemia risk, coordinate major carbohydrate or timing changes with a professional. Shaking, sweating, confusion, or fainting can signal dangerously low glucose and requires prompt action according to your plan. Persistent severe highs, vomiting, trouble breathing, confusion, or dehydration also require urgent guidance. I still prepare a Saturday omelet, read the local paper at the table, and join a domino game at the community room before lunch. Breakfast serves those plans. It is no longer a ceremony where I prove how good I can be by eating as little as possible. A composite pattern makes the 5 errors concrete. Mabel, 70, is a former choir director whose breakfast includes instant oatmeal with dried fruit, whole grain toast, orange juice, and coffee from a flavored packet. Every item sounds familiar and respectable. Mabel begins by blaming the oatmeal, but when she records the whole tray, her dietitian sees several carbohydrate sources, limited protein, and serving sizes larger than the labels. On rehearsal days, Mabel skips breakfast, then arrives at lunch so hungry that the plan disappears. Her correction is not a universal menu. She chooses one measured higher fiber carbohydrate, adds a suitable protein source, replaces the sweetened drink, and plans a smaller breakfast for mornings when appetite is low. Her medication schedule stays under professional supervision. Mabel keeps the tray photograph on her phone. At rehearsal, she realizes the purpose was never to create the most photogenic breakfast. It was to stop arriving hungry, distracted, and afraid of lunch. There is no invented before and after number. The meaningful change is that she returns to choir rehearsal without spending the first song replaying breakfast in her head. Look again at the tray. The 5 choices were not evil foods. They were an arrangement. Part of the meal was liquid. One grain was more refined than its label suggested. Several carbohydrate sources were stacked. Balance was missing, and the backup plan was to skip the meal entirely. Once the arrangement becomes visible, breakfast stops being a guessing game. You can change one instrument, listen to the new pattern, and preserve the nourishment that keeps an older body strong. At 83, I'm not interested in winning breakfast. I'm interested in finishing it with enough confidence to carry the tray back to the kitchen and begin the life that meal was supposed to support. Now you can see why focusing on one food, one habit, or one number may still leave part of the problem untouched. Blood sugar is influenced by a system that keeps working all day and all night. So lasting support is not about one miracle ingredient. It is about supporting the whole picture. And now you have a choice. You can leave with another interesting tip, or use what you have learned to build a more complete daily routine. Because the real goal is not to fear every meal or constantly worry about the meter. It is to feel confident in your routine, protect your independence, and keep living life on your own terms. If you want to discover the additional daily support approach I use alongside healthy habits and medical care, watch the free presentation in the description below. It reveals an overlooked gap that many routines may leave behind, and a broader strategy designed to support it. Watch it now while this connection is fresh. This supports your routine. It does not replace your doctor or medical treatment. Which breakfast mistake was hiding on your tray? The drink, grain, stack, missing balance, or skipped meal? Leave one comment naming it. For breakfast guidance built around real life after 60, subscribe to the channel.